Hey, Janice.
Anthony.
Today we're going to do a tax one. We're going to talk about what does stepped up basis mean. So the question is, does the IRS ever give us a break? And yeah, actually they do. Stepped up basis is the best example of this, I think, for the regular person, right? So I want to make sure that you know about it and you know how to use it. Okay.
Easy enough. So hopefully you're going to explain to us what stepped up basis is in 3 steps. So what are capital gains? What is the basis? And then why stepped up basis is this huge tax break the IRS gives us. And I am interested to hear this because I don't know.
Cool. And then lastly, I'll tell you about the big mistake that a lot of DIY, do-it-yourself estate planners make. And this can cost you tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Well, not you, but your heirs. But we'll get into that.
Still, ouch. Don't forget to sign up for upcoming books at anthonyspark.com/join.
All right, let's get started. First, I will explain what are capital gains. You may know this, but just bear with me as a refresher. Okay. So I'm going to use an example of Emily. So in 1990, Emily bought a townhouse in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, right? And you may remember back then, Crown Heights was not such a great neighborhood. There were some high-profile incidents. There was even a full-blown riot in 1991. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that.
Okay, I do not, but...
So for that, amongst other reasons, Emily was able to pay a pretty low price on this brownstone, just $200,000 for a 5-story, townhouse. That's pretty amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
Now let's fast forward to 2015, just a couple years ago. So Emily passed away, a mother and a grandmother, leaving behind, a loving and happy family. And they were a bit happier because that townhouse that she bought for $200,000 was now worth $1.2 million.
Okay, I'd be happy, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Grandma, right?
Yeah, thank you.
But one of the first questions, of course, was, we know how that things work here. What about taxes?
Yeah.
So I'm going to use Emily's example to explain what or how capital gains taxes work. So capital gains taxes are tax on investment profits, right? As opposed to, let's say, your business revenues or your salary. These are investment profits. So if you made $100 on a stock trade, for example, you're going to owe roughly 20% in capital gains tax on that profit, or $20, right? $100, 20%. Okay, so that's kind of generally what capital gains taxes are. What is basis? So let's say before her passing, Emily sold her house, like the day before she passed away. Let's just make this scenario. And she sold it for the $1.2 million that it's worth now.
Okay. That's
not the profit, right? She didn't profit $1.2 million.
No.
Right. You have to subtract out what she paid for it, the $200,000. So her profit is $1 million, not 1.2, right? 1.2 minus the 200,000. That's what her basis is, the $200,000, what she paid for.
Okay.
So basis is basically purchase price, right? The only thing is, I don't want to get bogged down in these details, but there's a lot of things that can increase or decrease your basis, like when you do repairs or improvements on your house. But for the purposes of this conversation, is what you paid for the house.
It's like big picture generic. What you're giving us is like the generics. Yeah.
Very good. So you with me so far?
I am actually with you. Yes.
Cool. So now finally, we're going to get into what is stepped up basis. Now, this is the big gift from the IRS, and it only costs you one thing. You have to die.
Right. Well, what did they say? Death and taxes? See, Now we've put them together. Right. So
when Emily died, the heirs didn't inherit Emily's $200,000 basis, her purchase price. Instead, the heirs' basis gets stepped up to the value as of Emily's date of death, or $1.2 million. So essentially, there's no capital gains tax, because if they sell it around the time that she passes away and their basis is exactly what they're selling it for, 1.2 million minus 1.2 million equals zero gain. So that's if that had not happened, they would have paid about $200,000 in taxes, capital gains tax. But because of stepped up basis, they don't pay a dime. Right? $200,000 saved. This is based on a case we did recently, so this is real deal stuff. So how common is this? Does this sound like, that never happens? This is very common. Home equity with a low or old basis is extremely common, and it's usually a very big chunk of an estate's value. I mean, think about it. Most of the folks you know who are older, who have recently passed away, most, not all, but what is the biggest chunk of their sort of net worth? It's the house.
The house,
right?
yeah.
It's the house they bought 30 years ago.
Right, right.
Just like Emily.
It's been paid off, right, absolutely.
Yeah. So these are houses that may be going for $500,000 now, whatever, but they bought them for like $20,000, decades ago. So it's really common. Here's the thing. A lot of people ask, okay, cool. That's awesome. Now that I know this, how do I take advantage of this?
Right.
Do I need a lawyer? Look, the short answer is no, you're not legally required to, but it's highly recommended. If you're saving tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, I think it makes sense to spend a couple of bucks to make sure, to lock that in, rock solid.
You just said $200,000 could be at stake, or I'm going to ask an attorney, pay for maybe a few $1,000s. Yeah, it kind of seems like a no-brainer, right? To me,
I think so. So a lot of people go to their CPA for this, and no knock on most CPAs, but because this requires specialized knowledge of the estate sort of procedures, I do recommend you go to an estate attorney with tax background, maybe an LLM, maybe just someone who's experienced, because a lot of CPAs are really good at churning out your 1040s, and they can do those with their eyes closed. But these more niche situations, I would just go with a specialist.
Right.
And what are you getting when you hire a lawyer or a good CPA? Oh, they're thoroughly documenting everything to make sure that the IRS can never challenge this. And that might include paying for an appraisal, which would be a couple $100, and filing a protective tax return to make sure you locked in that stepped up basis. But again, this sounds like a pain, but you're saving hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially. Yeah.
It makes sense. Even if you get the appraisal, you get a lawyer, you ask questions, it still seems like you're looking at a few thousand versus 200 or more thousand could be.
Sure. Yeah.
So what's the big DIY mistake you were talking about earlier? We love DIY.
Dude, I see this all the time. It's so frustrating. So a lot of do-it-yourselfers, I feel like I say this a lot, but they think they're slick, right? They think they know. Yeah.
Right.
So what they do is they make a gift before death, and they say, "Oh, I want to avoid probate. This is my probate avoidance estate planning technique. I'm just gonna write out a quick claim deed and gift my house to my son. So I outmaneuvered or outfoxed the system. Did you really? Because you may have avoided probate. That's not even clear. But even if you did, there is no stepped up basis with gifts, right? So if Emily had decided to do this and she, on her deathbed, wrote a quit claim deed giving the house to her kids, guess what? Even if they avoided probate, now they're stuck with that $200,000 tax bill. Nice, good job, right?
Which hurts. That's a lot of money.
And the sad part is we see this all the time.
Yeah.
And I guess the IRS is happy about it.
Right. But you were saying about the DIY. I know we say we see it all the time, but why do you think people are coming to us to fix the DIY? Oh, yeah. I hate to say it, but
and by the way, after the fact, there's not a whole lot I can do about it. I can't undo a deed that's been filed, so you just kind of should have not done that. I don't know what else to say. That it's like you come to me to get I told you so. I mean, I'm sorry. There's not much else I can do.
No, but yeah, maybe when you're going to do your Google searching, you probably should also search out a good attorney who knows what they're talking about for something like this. Again, that's just so much money at stake. But wow, interesting topic. And I did learn some information there. So thank you. And I think that's it. Of course, new books coming out all the time. And please join at anthonyspark.com/join to get on the list.
So I hope this is helpful because I know it's not because it's based around death, it doesn't happen often, but when it does, there's a lot of money at stake. So I hope this helps somebody, make the right decisions. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Janice. Thanks everyone for listening. Talk next time.
Talk soon.